Grandma's fork froze halfway to her mouth the moment my sister's voice shattered the dining room like a glass dropped from the top floor. A penthouse in New York? Her shriek sliced across the table so sharply that even the candles flickered. My dad dropped his fork. My mom's face went stiff and pale. And the room, full of cousins and aunts and perfectly plated food, went completely silent. But me? I just sat there steady watching the eruption I had never planned verbally, but had undeniably built with my silence, my work and my absence. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're listening from. My name is Danielle Carter, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the invisible one in my own family. My younger sister Layla Carter was the chosen one. The miracle child, the golden girl, the one everybody swore was destined for greatness. And the funny thing is, she believed every word of it. And so did they. When we were kids, Layla used to look at me with her hair freshly braided and say, "Danny, you're quiet. I'm the one meant to shine." She said it like she was reciting a prophecy written in stone. My parents never corrected her. They just smiled, nodded, and treated her confidence like brilliance and my calm like insignificance. My mom would say, "Layla has spark." My dad would add, "And you're the dependable one, Danny." Every family needs someone steady. At 10 years old, I accepted those roles like they were assigned seating. Quiet, background, supporting character. But over time, the steady label became the perfect excuse for them to stand on my back and call it family unity. Looking back now, the betrayal wasn't a single explosion. It was drip, drip, drip. Tiny cuts disguised as normal family dynamics. When you live inside a pattern long enough, you stop noticing the wounds. The first major cut was the college fund. My parents had always said, "Both you girls have money put aside for college. We're planning ahead." I believed them. Why wouldn't I? When my turn came, my father sat me down at the kitchen table, breathing heavily like he was about to confess a crime. "Sweetie, the market tanked, bills piled up, and the college fund, well, it's basically gone. We can help you a little, but not much. Maybe stay home, commute, work part-time." I nodded because nodding was my specialty back then. I worked through school, took the bus an hour each direction, ate whatever was cheap, and went to bed exhausted every night. A year later, I came home and heard Layla screaming with joy. "Paris? I get to study in Paris? Oh my God." My mom laughed proudly. "Just 1 semester abroad, baby. It'll look great on your resume. We'll use the college fund." The market bounced back. The market, the universe, the weather, everything bounced back for Layla. Next came the job offer. A real job, a good job, a job that could have changed my life. I'd been offered a position in another state with benefits, a salary that would actually allow me to breathe, and a chance to finally stand on my own. Before I could tell my parents, Layla cornered me, arms folded, lips pursed. "You're not actually moving, are you? I need help with the puppy. And who's gonna drive me when my car's in the shop? Mom and Dad can't handle another thing, Danny. Seriously, be realistic." I thought she was being dramatic, until my dad called me into the living room 2 days later. "We don't think it's the right time for you to move," he said. "Your sister needs you. Grandma's getting older. Family first. That job is probably replaceable." Replaceable. My future was replaceable. Layla's convenience was priceless. I turned down the job. They barely acknowledged it. Layla hugged me, posted a picture of her puppy with the caption, "Family helps each other, 2 hearts," and went on with her life. But the final cut came a year later. It was an ordinary Tuesday night. I was lying on my bed, scrolling through job listings I'd never apply for, when my phone buzzed. A text from Layla. Except it wasn't meant for me. "She'll never leave this town. She's too basic. I'm the one who'll make it big. Watch." For a long moment, I stared at the screen waiting for the familiar stabbing hurt. The kind that makes your breath shake. The kind that forces you into silence so your tears won't make noise. But this time, nothing. No pain. No confusion. No shock. Just a strange, blinding clarity. I wasn't hurt. I was awake. I saw her. I saw them. I saw the pattern I had lived inside my whole life. And for the first time I saw myself outside it. That night I made a private promise that tasted like steel. I will not compete with her. I will not argue for a scrap of respect. I will not beg them to see me. I will rise quietly, and they will never hear the footsteps. I opened an old notebook and wrote 3 words with a hand that didn't shake. Get out quietly. I listed my skills, my debts, my hours. I Googled freelance work. I picked up extra shifts. I took every side gig I could find: data entry, editing, scheduling, answering emails, virtual assistants. My world tightened into a disciplined loop. Work, freelance, sleep, repeat. No new clothes, no restaurants, no trips, no indulgences. My parents didn't notice. Layla certainly didn't. And the invisible girl? She became untouchable. Night after night I saved. Week after week my bank account grew. Month after month my confidence sharpened. And in the middle of all that quiet grinding, I stumbled upon a real estate listing. A simple penthouse in Manhattan. Not flashy. Not celebrity level. Just high up, quiet, and full of windows. I looked at it for 5 silent minutes. Then I whispered, "That's the one." Not because of the view. Not because of the city. But because Layla always said she was destined for New York. And I smiled, realizing I was too. I just didn't announce it. The funny thing about rebuilding your life from scratch is that nobody ever notices it while you're doing it. They only notice once it's finished, once the results are too big, too undeniable, too loud to ignore. But the work, the grind, the hundreds of nights where I fell asleep with my laptop open and my wrists aching, no one in my family ever saw that part. They never cared enough to look. After I chose the path of disappearing quietly, my world tightened into a small, disciplined circle. I woke up before dawn, worked my regular job, then came home and worked 5 more hours for people on the internet who only knew me as, "Hi Danielle, can you send the draft by morning?" And I sent it. Every single time. I did virtual assistant work for a busy makeup artist in Atlanta. I managed email for a retired doctor who couldn't figure out his Gmail filters. I created spreadsheets for a small business selling homemade candles. I wrote website descriptions, moderated discussion forums, cleaned up podcast transcripts, did customer service for an online clothing boutique. Anything ethical that paid. Money trickled in, $5 here, $30 there, $100 on rare nights. But every dollar went straight into savings. I lived like a ghost in my own life. No new clothes, no hair appointments, no nights out, not even a fast food meal unless it was part of my lunch break at my day job. And through all this, my family continued living the same way. Layla shining, Mom bragging, Dad ignoring, me disappearing. But something strange happened as I disappeared from them. I started appearing to myself. For the first time in my life, my goals weren't shaped by what they thought of me. They didn't know that every night before sleeping, I looked at photos of a quiet Manhattan penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows. They didn't know I whispered affirmations into my pillow saying, "Soon." They didn't know I was learning about investments from free YouTube channels and late-night webinars. My life stopped being reactionary. It became intentional. Months passed. My savings grew. I paid off another debt. And then another. I refinanced my car. I cut subscription after subscription. I sold clothes I never wore. I built a financial cushion that no one could take away or guilt me out of. I became the version of myself I used to daydream about. One evening, after finishing 3 freelance assignments back-to-back, I opened the bookmarked listing of the penthouse again. The price had dropped slightly, probably due to market shifts. I read the description over and over, absorbing every line like poetry. 1-bedroom penthouse. Quiet building. Private terrace. Skyline view. Lots of natural light. No marble floors. No imported chandeliers. No designer finishes. Just peace. Just height. Just mine. A few days later, I booked a seat on a budget bus to Manhattan. My parents didn't ask where I was going. They didn't notice I packed a small overnight bag. They didn't notice I was leaving the state. Not even when I quietly said, "I'll be back tomorrow," did anyone look up. That silence no longer hurt. It empowered me. When I arrived in New York, the winter wind slapped my face, forcing my eyes open wider. The city was noisy and alive. People moved like they had somewhere urgent to be, and yet somehow I didn't feel lost. I felt like I belonged to that urgency, like my heartbeat synced with the rhythm of the place. The realtor, Ms. Bryant, met me in the lobby of the building. She was a sharp black woman in her 60s with silver curls and a stare that saw everything. "You Danielle?" she asked. "Yes," I replied, nervous but standing tall. She looked me up and down, not judging, just calculating, and then she smiled, small and knowing. "All right then. Let's go see what you came for." We took the elevator all the way up. My ears popped halfway. When the doors opened on the top floor, the hallway was quiet, thick carpet quiet, like the air itself knew not to disturb the peace. Ms. Bryant unlocked the door with a little flourish. "After you." I stepped inside. It felt like stepping into a future version of myself. Sunlight hit me first. Warm and soft, even through the cold outside. The windows wrapped around one corner of the room, showing Manhattan spread out beneath me, glittering. The city looked both close enough to touch and far enough to respect. I walked through each room slowly, the tiny kitchen with modern appliances, the bathroom with clean lines and gentle lighting, the bedroom that felt like it floated above the world. I didn't gasp. I didn't cry. I didn't even smile. I just breathed. For the first time in years, my lungs expanded all the way. Ms. Bryant leaned against the doorway. "You're quiet," she said, amused. "Most people start screaming the minute they see the view." "I'm not most people," I said softly. "No," she agreed, studying me. "Women who rise quietly don't need to scream." Her words settled into me with a weight that felt like truth. The next 2 hours were a blur of paperwork, questions, and numbers I had rehearsed for weeks. When the final set of documents slid across the table toward me, Ms. Bryant tapped the signature line. "This is where you claim what's yours." For a brief second, I stared at the blank line. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. Instead, I felt a calm I didn't recognize, a deep, grounded certainty. I signed Danielle Carter. Just me. My name. No permission. No backup. No applause. Ms. Bryant handed me the keys with a proud smile. "Welcome home, baby." I didn't take pictures. Didn't post anything. Didn't tell a soul. I just sat on the bare floor that night, cross-legged, eating cheap deli fries while staring at the city lights. It felt unreal and yet more real than anything I'd ever touched. The next morning I took the bus home. My family never noticed I'd been gone. Over the next few weeks I moved my belongings one small trip at a time, suitcase after suitcase, trash bag after trash bag, using public transportation, taking every ride quietly. No one asked why my room looked emptier. No one asked about the extra bags. No one asked about my weekends. And then one afternoon, while writing birthday cards, I addressed one to the only person who ever asked how I was doing, Grandma Evelyn. Without thinking, I wrote my new address on the envelope. The truth traveled quietly through the postal system and landed right in her mailbox. I didn't know then that this one simple action was the spark. The match. The beginning of the explosion. Weeks later, Grandma called. "Baby, we're having a big dinner for my 80th. I want you there." Promised I would. And when I walked into that restaurant, dressed simply but carrying a confidence I didn't need to announce, I had no idea that Grandma had already seen the address, and that Layla would hear the word penthouse, and that the entire Carter family would finally realize the quiet one had risen. Grandma's 80th birthday dinner was supposed to be peaceful. At least that's what the invitation said. A beautiful private dining room at a nice restaurant, family dressed in their Sunday best. A long table decorated with white roses and gold candles. But peace is fragile in families like mine. One wrong word can crack it like thin glass. That I walked in quietly, wearing a simple black dress and a soft gold scarf Grandma once gave me. Nothing dramatic. Nothing flashy. Just me. Layla, on the other hand, sat at the center of the table like she was headlining a show. Hair freshly done, nails bright, wrists jingling with new bracelets. She talked so loudly the people at the next table turned their heads twice. My parents hovered close to her, of course. Dad beaming. Mom glowing. Their golden child in all her sparkling self-crafted glory. I took my place near the opposite end of the table as usual. Invisible section. Safe section. The place where everyone could ignore me without breaking their perfect family choreography. Dinner went exactly as it always did. Layla talking. My mother bragging. My father nodding. Everyone else listening. Until Grandma Evelyn, bless her soft voice and sharp mind, cut through the noise like a clean blade. She leaned toward me, loud enough for half the table to hear, and said, "Baby, how's life in New York? Are you settling into your new place all right?" Fork stopped midair. Breathing paused. Layla's head whipped around so fast I thought she'd snap her neck. "What new place?" she demanded. I went still. I hadn't told Grandma. I hadn't told anyone. Then it hit me, the birthday card envelope. The return address. Of course she'd read it. Of course she'd noticed. Grandma always notices the quiet things first. Before I could answer, Grandma smiled brightly and said, "Her penthouse, sweetheart. Beautiful view." I saw the address on my card. Penthouse. The word detonated in the room like a grenade. Layla's mouth fell open, then tightened into an ugly sneer. "A penthouse? You bought a penthouse?" Her voice cracked on the U. Like the concept physically hurt her throat. My mother blinked rapidly, her lipstick trembling. My father stared at me as if seeing me for the first time in years. I felt the shift immediately. Their shock, their confusion, their disbelief, but I didn't shrink. Not this time. I sat straighter. I lifted my chin. I let my silence speak first. Layla broke it. She always did. "With what money? Your salary isn't even close to penthouse money." She spat. "This has to be a joke." I calmly set down my fork. "I worked," I said. "Harder than any of you ever knew." "No, seriously," my father said, voice tight. "How did you afford it?" "You never asked what I was doing with my life," I replied gently. "You were all too busy watching hers." The table rippled with small gasps. Layla flushed bright red. "You should have told us," she shot back. "We're family. We deserve to know." I met her eyes, really met them for the first time in years. Funny. I don't remember this family asking before shutting doors on me. Her face froze, then twisted, then cracked. Because she knew exactly what I meant. Her Paris semester. My lost job offer. Every time Mom and Dad praised her spark and dismissed my steady. Every moment they placed me beneath her without hesitation. And for the first time in her life, Layla felt small compared to me. Her voice softened, not in kindness but fear. "You outgrew us?" Before I could respond, my Aunt Renee, who rarely spoke unless something truly important was happening, quietly set down her wine glass. "Layla, baby," she said, looking at her directly, "the part that scares you isn't that she bought a penthouse. It's that she did it without needing you, or any of them." Silence swallowed the room. Even the air seemed to stop. My mother's eyes darted between us, confused and hurt. My father clenched his jaw, stunned. Layla stared at me like I had betrayed her personally, as if my success was an attack instead of a rebirth. She pushed back her chair, the legs scraping loudly. I can't do this," she whispered. Then louder, "I'm done." She stormed out, tears streaking her perfect makeup. My parents rushed after her, torn between comforting their golden child and figuring out what to do with the daughter they'd overlooked into independence. The door swung shut behind them, and suddenly the room was still. Only Grandma stayed seated. Only she didn't look surprised. She reached across the table, placing her warm, wrinkled hand over mine. "You freed yourself," she whispered. And that simple sentence, that gentle truth, hit deeper than any harsh word Layla ever threw at me. For the rest of dinner, she didn't ask how much I made, or what the penthouse looked like, or whether I would move back home someday. She just talked to me about joy, about peace, about claiming a life no one thought I deserved but I built anyway. When I left the restaurant, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt light, untethered. Later that night, I stood alone on my balcony in Manhattan, a glass of wine in hand, the skyline glowing beneath my bare feet. The city hummed softly, like it knew it had been waiting for me. I didn't think about Layla's scream, or the shock, or the accusation, or the fork clattering against china. I thought about the moment I stopped looking at myself through their eyes. I thought about the nights I chose myself over sleep, validation, or approval. I thought about the quiet rise no one believed I was capable of. Layla always claimed she was the star. Maybe she was. But stars burn out. Quiet people. We rise. And we rise. And we rise. And no one sees it coming until the light hits their face.